Earlier this week, shout out to my guy, King Carmen. I think me and Ken got a lot of similarities when it comes to our fandom, our approach to certain things as far as this profession and in life. And Ken said something that really, really made a light bulb go off for me because I kind of echo these same sentiments. I find it very, very hard to want to move on from people that I like. Even if you are not doing the best of your ability at your profession, when you clock out, and I know that you're a quality person, a quality human being, a cool dude, so to speak, it's kind of hard to root against you. But that's also being emotional. And in business and in life, sometimes making decisions based off of emotions, it can set you back instead of propel you forward. So what am I talking about? It took me a long time to get to this point of, I like Kevin Stefanski, but Kevin Stefanski might not be the guy for the Cleveland Browns. And to be fully transparent, I thought that at the end of last season, both Kevin Stefanski and Andrew Berry should have been fired. I am the type of person, Anthony, that no matter what I feel, once I'm presented with new information, I try to do my best to make the best of the situation. So what does that mean? Instead of coming on air every single week and saying, well, Kevin Stefanski should be fired. Kevin Stefanski should be fired. He's not going to be fired. So what can I do to gas myself up that this might work? And when I was looking at this entire thing, the reason why I felt that last year was when that information came out about how people felt like, Deshaun Watson was getting different treatment from other people and how that was rubbing people wrong in the locker room. Or when Kevin Stefanski opted that he was not going to call the plays no more. And he came out and told the media. Then the reports come out that the players found out about the play calling change at the same time that we did. When you compromise your integrity like that, it's kind of hard to get that back. Compromise integrity, compromise like credibility, all those things where you are in a position of power, it is just like when you are the lead in a relationship. If you are the one who messed that up, it is really, really hard to restore that type of faith in you. They say trust, it takes a long time to build it up. It is easy to deplete that. So those were the reasons that were good enough for me that it was time for the Cleveland Browns to move on. I used to be beating my chest. Kevin Stefanski is a leader of men. Kevin Stefanski goes about things this way. It's always the unwritten intangibles about Kevin Stefanski that makes me say that he should be the coach of this team. And all that's good if you want to be like Ray Lewis and give that motivational speech. But at the end of the day, is what I'm saying really holding weight when the results are not following? You follow me?
Oh, yeah.
And when I look at this situation with the Cleveland Browns, it has been a roller coaster ride. It seems that it has gotten worse before it's gotten better. And I quite frankly feel like whatever it is that he was good at has been figured out. You look at this Cleveland Browns offense under Kevin Stefanski. Very first year, 2020, this team averaged 25.5 points a game. 2021, they averaged 20.5 points a game. 2022, 21.2. 2023, 23.3. 2024, 15.2. So far this season, they are averaging 16.5 points a game. The year that the Cleveland Browns went winless, 2017, we averaged 14.6 points a game. Now, if you look at that and then you look at last year's completed point total season, if we round it up to the nearest number, either way, it's 15.
Yeah.
So, in 5 complete seasons plus 2 games this year under Kevin Stefanski, the Cleveland Browns are averaging 21 points a game. Since 2020, that is tied for 23rd best in the NFL. This offense is stagnant. This offense lacks creativity. It lacks explosion. It seems like that Kevin Stefanski sends mixed messages. Fans have the opinion that the media don't hold him accountable. I have the opinion that we can ask Kevin Stefanski whatever we want. He's going to make the decision to get up there and tell you whatever it is he wants to tell you. At the end of the day, man, sometimes your message starts to fall on deaf ears when the results aren't there. And I think this fan base can use an energy boost. I think this fan base can use a breath of fresh air. I really do.
And I know where you're coming from, that you aren't looking for like a Dan Campbell type. Like, you don't necessarily need the we're going to bite off kneecaps in the press conference and rah-rah, that sort of thing. Like, analytical minds such as Kevin Stefanski have worked out. Analytical minds have not worked out. You know, there for every Dan Campbell, there's a Dameon Pierce, there's a Freddie Kitchens, there's guys that just, you know, have no idea how to lead an NFL team. I do agree, though, that I think with the fans, everything that Kevin Stefanski says has fallen on deaf ears. It's literally gotten to the point where I talk to people that when we ask me why we even cover Kevin Stefanski's press conferences anymore, why do you carry those live on air? There's no reason to. He's not going to give you anything. But it's the offense and it's his calling card. Like, his calling card is that he's an offensive guru. And I know that's a buzzword for some people. But if you come in as, I'm the offensive coordinator that's calling plays, and also I know how to run a football team, and I hired the correct guy as my defense coordinator, and Jim Schwartz, well, your offense sucks. And like, I'd love to know all the teams, they're 23rd since 2020 in points scored, points per game. I promise you that those 7 teams below them have at least changed a coach one time over, at least. And we stick here with the same thing because what, Jimmy Haslam's worried about being a guy that's seen as making rash decisions? Like, that kind of feels like that's the only reason why Kevin Stefanski and Andrew Berry are still here anymore, is because Haslam wants to like recreate his image that he's a better, you know, owner of a franchise that isn't just going to fire Rob Chudzinski and Mike Pettin after 1 or 2 years.
The Browns are tied 23rd with the Pittsburgh Steelers at 21 points a game. Up under them, the Denver Broncos, 20.6. The Houston Texans, 20.1. The Chicago Bears at 20 points. The New England Patriots at 20 points. This ends with Jacksonville, Carolina, the Jets, and the Giants. Again, this is the points per game scored from 2020 to 2025. And I use this specific time frame because, of course, this is how long Kevin Stefanski has been here as the head coach. What I found even more interesting is, of the teams that's ranked in the top 10, 6 of those 10 teams still have the same coach as they did when Kevin Stefanski took over in 2020. And those top 10 teams are Buffalo, Dallas, Baltimore, Detroit, Kansas City, Green Bay, Tampa Bay, Philadelphia, San Francisco, and Cincinnati. And I know the phone lines are starting to blow up now. And I know the issues are plentiful here. And I get it. Kevin Stefanski has never been in the most perfect situation. I get that as well. But like, at the end of the day, we cannot continue to make excuses for the results not following. You know, when this team seems to take a step backwards as far as their offensive efficiency more often than not, then it tells me that our head coaches have gotten figured out.
Mm-hmm. This was supposed to be a contention window. They got 3 playoff games out of it total, and people don't even count Kevin Stefanski for the 2021 that they got. But like I said before the beginning of the season, if the Browns just hit their win total and they go 5-12, then Kevin Stefanski is going to have a overall record in Cleveland of 15 games below 500. How many coaches like that in the modern NFL get a year 7? Especially after what's going to be 8 wins between 2 seasons. Nobody just gets a green stamp that, like, we're going to bring you back for sure. I understand what Jimmy Haslam said at the beginning of the summer of this was an organizational fault getting Deshaun Watson. We need to get out from under that. But there are systemic issues with the offense, with the fact that there's 0 leadership on this team, with everything that you have mentioned and that we have all mentioned in weeks prior, that all fall on Kevin Stefanski, man.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like the mantra has been smart, tough, accountable. The accountable part, we can bank on that because we know what Kevin is going to say after every game, especially after every bad game. Players need to play better. Coaches need to coach better. You can put that on me, Mary Kay.
Yeah.
Where's the lie?
No, That's verbatim what he's going to say on Sunday.
When he talk about the choice that they made this past year, I talked to Daniel Oyefusi, who covers the Cleveland Browns for ESPN this past week, and he said something that maybe people missed. Jimmy Haslam signed off on that trade. Jimmy Haslam signed off on that trade, and to me, Jimmy signed off on that trade because he knew that this team needed an infusion of youth. And after going 2-3 years without having a first-round pick, you need to accumulate as much talent as you can on this team. I don't know if the franchise quarterback, quite frankly, is in next year's draft or not, if I'm being totally honest. I think people tried to predetermine that it was. But if you look at college football over the first 2 or 3 weeks, I don't see too much of anything that's really overly impressing me.
No, not at all.
And so to me, and even if it was next draft, do I trust this coaching staff to develop said player?
Well, that's the question. Think about all the things that we just said are wrong with the current team. And it's not just that they can't score points. It's the offensive line. It's like everything. With all that being said, do you trust Kevin Stefanski specifically? Like, take Andrew Berry out of this. Do you trust Kevin Stefanski specifically to coach that guy up into being a franchise quarterback?
No.
There you go. There's your answer. And I agree with you.
Because here's the thing. See, it's easy to go back and kind of like, scale back and take and peel back the layers after you get so many years removed from it. When Kevin Stefanski was hired by the Cleveland Browns, it was because of his play calling ability. Am I correct in saying that?
Yes.
So the reason why I'm pointing that out is because I'm trying to figure out where down the line we got to this point that Kevin Stefanski was a guy to develop quarterbacks.
You know what? This is going to be a weird comparison, but so I was at Syracuse. The guy that they brought in to be the head coach was this offensive guru, and he was supposed to be a quarterback guru as well. Mm-hmm. And he promised in his opening press conference a high-flying Syracuse offense, like air raid style. And think about what we've been promised with the Kevin Stefanski naked bootleg, wide zone run scheme, yada, yada, all that stuff. How it ended with Dino Babers in Syracuse was him basically running a triple option wing T offense, ground and pound, where the offense couldn't score 20 points a game. And think about where we are right now with Kevin Stefanski.
12 personnel, play action, can't run a football, can't score 20 points a game.
Exactly. So I'm looking at the same thing, just at a different level.
By the way, the offensive package that we run, there's nothing exotic about it.
No, it's the most boring style of football I've ever watched.
And what's crazy is, it's not even that it's an ineffective style of football. But if you don't have all the parts moving in the same direction with that, it's not going to work, especially in 2025.
And you don't have a running game that you trust. You have an injured old offensive line. And then you have receivers that are dropping the balls and that apparently Joe Flacco's not in the same time rhythm with.
Yeah.
Despite the fact that they allegedly train together all training camp and preseason. Like it is a collective disaster right now.
And I know roster construction. And I know roster construction is a part of it. I made this analogy before. Andrew Berry and Kevin Stefanski is kind of like a couple who they split the responsibilities. Andrew Berry goes to the grocery store with the grocery list. He goes and get the groceries. He comes back. He sets the groceries down in the kitchen. It is up to Kevin Stefanski to put up the groceries, rotate the you know how I go? The oldest to the new, freshest to the back. It's also on Kevin Stefanski to cook the meal. But what do you do when you're in a situation to where you're not sure if the general manager is buying bad produce or if the coach just can't cook?
Yeah.
Or what if it's a little bit of both?
It's the chicken or the egg thing. And I don't know which one is which.
It's frustrating for Cleveland Browns fans.